Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
This is the Bloomberg Daybreak here at Podcast. Good morning. It's Monday, the 29th of September. I'm Caroline Hepker in London.
And I'm Stephen Carroll in Brussels. Coming up today, the UK's Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer attempt a political fight back at the Labour Party conference, grounded in fiscal restraint and opposition to Nigel Farage.
Moldova's ruling pro-EU party is on track to win re-election after Bloomberg uncovered unprecedented voter interference efforts by Moscow.
Plus, one way or another, the taxman is coming for France's wealthiest. Why the tough choices facing the Prime Minister mean the country's rich are likely to be paying more.
Let's start with a roundup of our top stories.
The UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer is framing his political survival as the country's best hope of defeating populism. Speaking to the BBC as Labour Party members gathered in Liverpool for their annual conference, Starmer said his government is in a contest for Britain's soul as he sought to draw political battle lines with Nigel Farage's Reform UK.
We have not had a proposition like reform in this country ever before. We've seen it in France and Germany and plenty of other countries. This is a different fight. It is a fight about who we are as a country. It goes to the soul of our future. It will be heard and the effects will be there for generations.
Keir Starmer was speaking as his Chancellor prepares to deliver her conference speech later today, confronting a black hole in the public finances of at least £20 billion. That's left Rachel Reeves needing to draw up plans for tax rises in her autumn budget in November. At the same time, she must convince voters that her economic programme can offer a compelling alternative to the populist right without risking her reputation for fiscal prudence.
Labour's attempts at a political fight back come as the government prepares to set out what contributions foreign workers must make to claim settled status in the UK. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood will tell the party's conference today that migrants will have to earn the right to claim so-called indefinite leave to remain. This status grants access to certain welfare benefits and the ability to work in the UK.
The government's efforts to tighten migration rules in the UK comes as new data points to a weakening labour market. Figures from the job site Indeed show that only 56% of postings included wage information in August. That's a drop of nearly 10 percentage points since the start of the year and the lowest share since early 2022. Analysts say companies' reluctance to disclose pay suggests employers are no longer under pressure to boost wages.
Now, let's go to Moldova, where the pro-European ruling party is set to be re-elected, keeping the country on its path towards EU membership amid strained relations with Russia. President Maia Sandu's Action and Solidarity Party secured 49.6% of votes. That's according to the unofficial results from almost 98% of precincts. The pro-Russian Patriotic Electoral Bloc came in second with 24.5%. President Maia Sandu spoke about Russian interference after casting her vote over the weekend.
We all know that the Russian Federation has been heavily involved in the elections of the Republic of Moldova. I have spoken, and our institutions have spoken, about various methods, starting from attempts to buy votes, and hundreds of millions of euros have been spent for this. I've spoken about the training of young people from the Republic of Moldova to organise violence, destabilising actions.
President Maia Sandu speaking there via a translator as the result was coming in. If confirmed, it would be a major blow to Russia after it allegedly spent millions of dollars to install pro-Moscow forces in Moldova's capital.
Cracks are beginning to show on the global stock rally, according to research from Bloomberg Intelligence. That's even as a second straight quarter of strong gains lifted indexes to record highs. Bloomberg's Tima Adebayo has more.
For now, global stocks are benefiting from looser Fed policy, resilient earnings and surging commodities. But trouble could be brewing on the horizon. A Bloomberg Intelligence breadth gauge of equities has fallen a full standard deviation below its average. Typically, this pattern has flagged overheated rallies and been a precursor to slowing returns. According to our analysts, signs suggest the recent rally may cool over the next 30 to 90 trading days. In London, Tiwa Adebayo, Bloomberg Radio.
Team Europe have won golf's Ryder Cup on American soil for the first time since 2012. Luke Donald's team held off a spirited comeback from their hosts in New York to win the trophy by 15 points to 13. Irishman Shane Lowry secured the trophy with a nail-biting final putt
to retain the cup. Lowry does it. Lowry has it. Leaping and hollering and celebrating. Steals in at the last, Shane Lowry, to half the match against Russell Henley. And the cup is retained. These are the moments you remember, and he'll remember it for the rest of his days.
So, victory for the Europeans. The next Ryder Cup will be held in Ireland in 2 years' time. And those are our top stories for you this morning. Let's look at the markets. US and European stock futures are up this morning, along with Asian equities. Largely, you've got the Kospi, Hang Seng and the main benchmarks in China all gaining. This as gold has hit another record high. You've also got the Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index weakening by about 0.25% this morning. Crude oil falling, with people familiar saying that OPEC Plus will weigh a November supply increase. So looking at the bond markets this morning, 10-year US yields down 2 basis points at 4.15. Those are the markets.
In a moment, we'll bring you more from the Labour Party conference, plus why France's richest people have plenty to worry about in the upcoming budget there. But another story that we've been reading this morning from our colleague Howard Chwayuan, who's been writing about sleep debt, a subject very close to our hearts. Caroline, this is essentially what experts say is every time you come in under 7 to 9 hours of sleep that's required to stay healthy and sane, I quote, this is the debt that you build up and then have to spend much longer recovering. At one estimate that Howard quotes in his piece from a hospital group in the US says it could take 4 days to recover from just 1 hour of sleep debt. I'm not doing the maths on this, Caroline. It's been about 13 years, I think, that I've been in sleep deficit. So the prospect of how long it'll take me to do that, I think I'll see you in about 2055 for our next show.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, my heart always sinks when Howard writes about sleep deficits, but it's hugely important, isn't it? Just like, eating and exercising, sleep is massively important. But Howard also charts a little bit of the history of his own life and how it came about, as an editor, as a writer, being up all night, and that it was those habits that even now, as he's, I'll say it, a little bit older now, that those habits have sort of stuck for him. So, yeah.
Look, I, as you and anyone who's ever met me will know, I can talk for hours about sleep hygiene. It becomes an obsession when you work the sort of hours that we work for this as well. But I really like Howard has a lot of practical tips in this piece as well, yes, about how you can basically act as if you are sleeping, which is a good method to try and get yourself to sleep. I will be trying that and I will report back.
Sounds great. Look, I wonder whether there's any sleep deficit up in Liverpool. Let's bring you more from the Labour Party conference that's taking place in Liverpool. Only 14 months into office, Prime Minister Keir Starmer and Chancellor Rachel Reeves have significant challenges fiscally and with their popularity. In interviews as the conference got underway, Starmer took on his biggest rival, Nigel Farage's Reform UK. Our UK politics reporter James Wilcock joins us now from Liverpool. James, how crucial is this conference for the Prime Minister?
I'll probably have some sleep debt after that. Look, the Prime Minister goes into this conference as the most unpopular Prime Minister on record, according to Ipsos polling, and with rivals outside of the party in Reform, who poll higher than him, and inside with the Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham, who said MPs have been telling him over the summer he could do a better job. Look, I was at a Fringe event last night with the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, where he said conference is a window for the country to see what Labour actually stand for, and he followed it up by thanking both delegates and journalists for coming, as well as spectators who love watching blood sports. So that gives you a flavour of quite how febrile the environment is here. And Starmer and his Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, have to set out what is a more positive vision for their government going forward.
Yeah, and so in terms of what we're expecting from the Chancellor today and her speech, it's a very far cry perhaps from how she was when she was Chancellor in waiting.
It's funny you say that, Caroline, because there are a remarkable number of similarities to last year, we go in expecting a large black hole, a shortfall in government finances from both an OBR downgrade that's been long feared might come, and also welfare spending, similar to last year where there were big fears about conservative overspend going into the budget. There are questions about tax, over whether Labour's manifesto from the election will hold. And there are also big plans apparently later today for the Chancellor to announce changes to youth unemployment to try and get more people back into work to boost the long-term supply curve of the economy. So although much has changed in terms of the sort of political outlook, in many ways the Chancellor is still trying to do very similar things to what she was doing last year. The question is if she can pull it off.
That's the focus on the Chancellor today, James. But this, as you've been laying out for us, is such a big challenge for the Prime Minister now as well. He's been criticised for not taking bold enough action on immigration and the economy. He's spoken about Reform UK in his conversations running up to this event as well. And you've also been speaking to some of those about the expectations and the bar that the Prime Minister has to meet at this event.
The question all the journalists here are asking, Stephen, is this a genuine moment of jeopardy for the Prime Minister? Is his job at risk? And look, I talked to Nick Williams, a former Downing Street advisor who helped write Labour's economic manifesto. He says it's a tight spot for the leader and the Chancellor.
It is definitely the case that Keir and Rachel go into this conference with their sort of backs against the wall. But one thing I know about the two of them is that when their backs against the wall, their instinct is to come out swinging.
Now, coming out swinging in this case is calling reforms policies racist and saying Labour is in a fight for the soul of the country. Those are comments from Keir Starmer over the weekend. And they are introducing new policy to try and fix that, to tackle immigration and the economy, two of their areas they're seen as weakest on. And that is ID cards. And now this morning we're hearing there's going to be new policies around stricter conditions if you're allowed to settle in the UK as a foreign migrant. That's including having a clean criminal record, paying tax, not being on benefits, and having a higher standard of English before you can be considered to resettle in the country.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? The Prime Minister effectively calling it a kind of fight for the nation's soul. Thank you so much for being with us. That is Bloomberg's James Wilcock, who is at the Labour Party conference in Liverpool. Stay with us. More from Bloomberg Daybreak Europe coming up after this.
France's new Prime Minister is under pressure from the left, the extreme right, and even his own centrist allies to extract more tax from the country's wealthiest residents. Sébastien Lecornu is facing difficult decisions as he prepares his 2026 budget that aims to cut the largest deficit in the euro area. Bloomberg's Tara Patel covers wealth for Bloomberg from Paris. She joins us now for more. Tara, good morning. What are then the proposals being considered by the Prime Minister?
The proposals on the table and off the table run a very, very wide gamut. They're ranging from an extremely broad proposal named for an economist called Gabriel Zucman. This is from the Socialist Party, and it would tax basically all personal assets of somebody who has more than 100 million, to very, very, very targeted proposals that would, for instance, put holding companies on the table, or maybe take away certain tax niches to avoid what many critics have called over-optimization of taxes. I think what we know, we have a little bit more clarity about what the Prime Minister is thinking this time. 2 days ago, he came out and said that he really is not in favor. He's definitely against a very broad-based wealth tax for France, which France has tried before. But he is willing to consider perhaps more targeted measures.
Yeah, as you say, France has tried wealth taxes in the past. Can they work this time, or how do proponents say that they would be more effective this time round?
Well, it's very difficult to say. I think people who are backing this kind of wealth tax, it's really coming from the left more than anything else. So that's why it really does hark back to François Mitterrand. When he first came into power, he was the first socialist president post-war for France. And really one of the reasons he won was because he came in promising that he would make the rich pay more more. And this debate that's going on now that really started last year during the election campaign has come on fast and furiously. And I think that the Socialist Party, again, has really latched onto this issue as something that can bring people into the streets and speaks to a very broad swath of France's population. Can they work this time? I think, like any policy, it depends on the way that the government tries to put it in place, if that's what they think they need to do. We've all seen in the UK in particular when the non-dom, for instance, measures are starting to be whittled away. The ultra-rich are a very, very mobile population, and if there's a particular tax that comes in that they don't like, well, it's very, very easy just to pick up and to go to and find places where the tax situation may be a little bit more favorable to people. So I think in France's case, it's really going to depend on the degree of taxation and the types of measures that the government implements, if that's where it's heading.
Tara, does Sébastien Lecornu actually have any choice in this matter, given the fractured political landscape and the difficulty he's going to have to build support for a budget? Is he going to have to do something to, I suppose, appeal to those who support these measures?
Well, I think he's going to have to do something. I think the path he's trying to carve out to remain, to basically survive. He's the fifth prime minister in less than 2 years. He needs support from the Socialist Party, or he needs tacit support, at least an agreement with the extreme right, with Marine Le Pen's National Rally, that they won't support a no confidence vote. And I think that this wealth tax has taken on sort of a life of its own. It's been all-consuming. It's brought people onto the streets. It's, you listen to any talk show at any time of day now, and it's talking, the topics of conversation are inequality and who's going to pay. France, what isn't going to go away is that France has the biggest deficit in the euro area now. And I think that the markets have really put France on alert. And I think Sébastien Lecornu is going to have to do something. France needs a budget for 2026, and perhaps one of the answers might be to choose some kind of tax that is going to affect the wealthy, the ultra-rich, but perhaps also the less rich, the millionaire set, and maybe that way he can find a way to move forward and actually name a government. Because for the moment, France has a prime minister but doesn't have a finance minister. He doesn't have a cabinet.
This is Bloomberg Daybreak Europe, your morning brief on the stories making news from London to Wall Street and beyond.
Look for us on your podcast feed every morning on Apple, Spotify and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
You can also listen live each morning on London DAB Radio, the Bloomberg Business app and Bloomberg.com.
Our flagship New York station is also available on your Amazon Alexa devices. Just say, Alexa, play Bloomberg 1130. I'm Caroline Hepker.
And I'm Stephen Carroll. Join us again tomorrow morning for all the news you need to start your day, right here on Bloomberg Daybreak Europe.